Do you have any personal favorites that are nominated tonight?
I am a total fanboy. I have tons of favorites. It's like I'm a huge favorite of Valve, so like the Orange Box stuff, I'd love to see them win something. I'm also a huge fan of Call of Duty 4. I've been playing that a lot recently. I know they just went by. You know, I'll go geek out on them later, be fanboys. You know, you guys are awesome, really.
I love it, the synergy over here.
Yeah, you guys really kick some butt.
These guys from Infinity Ward behind Call of Duty 4, and they seem to have a lot of friends tonight. Action overall, console multiplayer game of the year, sweeping the DICE Awards. What do you attribute that to? Is it healthy living?
It's an amazing team. Infinity Ward is an amazing team. They pulled together, they put their blood, sweat, and tears into this. It was 2 years of pure mayhem, and it paid off.
What about a little bit of that online mayhem? You think folks really reacted to that?
Yeah. We had a dedicated team that was working on multiplayer since the very beginning, and it really shows. You know, having guys that spend 2 years, they had it up and running in the first few months, and then we were just refining, adding, and just making it a much deeper and better game.
Hey, we're all for better games, but what are some of the other trends that gamers need to be aware of in 2008?
That are going to be really exciting. I think most exciting maybe is something like, or for trend for '08 is going to be user-generated content. You're going to see things like Little Big Planet having an online component. You're going to see things like, Microsoft has been talking about their YouTube of games for years. User-generated gaming. You have Flash-based gaming portals having all sorts of stuff. I think, that kind of sensibility that we've seen in places like Facebook or MySpace making their way into games is probably going to happen increasingly so, especially with the online connectivity and new consoles and PC games, obviously.
Well, as a parent and a game player, the most exciting trend for me is having a fun social family experience with video games. And part of that is just kind of selfish that I'd like to play games, and without that, I'd be kind of relegated to the basement, after the kids go to bed. But I get a real kick out of sharing the gaming experience with my family. And that seems to be a trend that's starting to pick up now, which I like a lot.
Okay.
Yes.
I think the most overhyped thing for 2008 may be a digital distribution. I mean, I think it's an amazing thing, and I think it's going to have huge repercussions in the industry, but I don't know if it's going to happen yet, like be that widespread in 2008. And it seems like that's what everybody's talking about right now. And underhyped, I don't know. Right now, I think it's a little too early to see what the breakout surprise is going to be. I still think the Wii needs to prove itself, but that wouldn't really be a surprise if it did.
So far this week, we've talked about where we've been and what's coming up this year, but what about 2009, let alone the next decade? Where are we going to be then? Let's take a look at the future of video games.
I think we're already seeing a lot of changes, primarily with people's interface to the games, changing, especially with the Wii, the way we think about how we play games. I mean, for such a long time, it's been limited so much by a keyboard and a mouse or a traditional gaming pad. And these days, games are getting much more casual. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the interface has become more human, especially when you look at what Nintendo's been doing. More and more people, like I said, are having less time. They can't get as engaged. They can't learn everything they need to know about the conventions of gameplay. So trying to push more casual gameplay experiences and more casual interfaces seems to be where things are going.
Okay, so more accessibility.
Sure.
Well, in 2007, we saw unparalleled growth in this industry. There was 2 next-gen consoles, and it's a lot of games made for those consoles. A lot of money flowing into the industry. The industry is really becoming global. I've had first experience. I used to work at a small company called Mobile Corporation, and I worked in about 20 countries, and just had a chance to see a global marketplace.
You're also kind of putting out new music. So this could be a way to get people heard, maybe indie bands that aren't getting the attentions of major labels. Do you think that this is a way, kind of how MySpace has brought new voices out, new artists out, do you think that maybe video games can be a platform for this?
I think we do, yeah. That's something that, what we're working on now has been mostly bigger mainstream acts. We've snuck a few smaller acts into Rock Band, and we do weekly downloadable content, which is a great opportunity for us to feature smaller bands, just because every week we have the ability to do more stuff. In the future, I think that it might be a pretty big deal for little bands, like a way to break them.
Yeah, I think video games are going to trend more towards content and story-driven medium, again mimicking the movie industry. At first, all the technical savvy people were the ones who dominated the industry, but later on, as the camera became standardized, people who could tell better stories became dominant. The 6 studios were merged and formed. You see all these mergers and acquisitions in our industry now. That's very, very similar to what happened in the movie industry a long time ago. And when that happened, the movie industry tended towards content. And so that's what's gonna happen to us too. People who tell the best stories in the end are gonna be the ones that survive.
I think we'll continue to see an evolution of the technology. The newer genres will kind of find their place. I think we're going to see more evolution in the MMO genre. We'll see what's going to happen with casual games. We're looking now at telephone games. The handhelds are still very powerful. So I think that gaming is kind of broadening right now. We're introducing new audiences to gaming with platforms like the Wii and casual games. And it remains to be seen whether they become kind of more serious gamers and evolve to some of the more serious games, or whether they move on to something else. But we're kind of in a transition now where a lot of people are sampling this idea of video gaming and kind of see where they go from there.
And that's a wrap. We'll see you next week on Players Only.